from Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
Good afternoon and welcome to Chicago Philippine Reports TV, still the #1 in all the Filipino shows in the Midwest. And I'm Joe Mauricio. Today we have all the top stories from Chicago and the Philippines. We also have our segment host, Veronica, interesting interviews with Melody Rabor Dizon, our Health Matters host, and Joe Mauricio, myself. And I would like to introduce to you Janette Jordee, our new host from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, introducing her Global Inspirations interviews. We also have happening within our own Filipino community here in Chicago. All these are coming up and more from our sponsors. Please stay with us.
Hi, I'm Maria Pappas, Cook County Treasurer. Property taxes are due March 2nd, but there's no late fee through May 3rd. Go to cookcountytreasurer.com, put in your street address to pay online, search for $76 million in double payments and $46 million in missing exemptions. See if your property is on the tax sale delinquency list. Put in your address at cookcountytreasurer.com.
More than a week after Texas was slammed with record-breaking temperatures that knocked out power stations, about 8.8 million residents, a third of the state's population, continue to have issues with their water supply this week. Governor Greg Abbott pledged on Wednesday to overhaul the state's electric grid operator after a massive blackout not only left residents without water, but heat and power as well for days.
For those of you still hurting, I want you to know the state is using every possible resource to fix this problem. Many of you are angry, and you have a right to be. I'm angry too. At a time when essential services were needed the most, the system broke. You deserve answers. You will get those answers.
On the eve of the state hearings into what caused last week's outage, officials are looking at ways to add more power to the electric grid. Top directors of Texas's electrical grid operator, who were heavily criticized due to major failure of the state power system, resigned on Tuesday. At least 21 people were killed in Texas during the winter storm that cut power to up to 4.8 million people. In the aftermath of the wicked weather, Dallas residents waited in long lines so they could get clean water and food aid packages. In Houston, volunteers could be seen operating a drive-through food delivery line to serve those in need.
We're doing water and various foods. So the two things we're trying to accomplish, of course, for the people, because of the boil notice, they need water. But also for the families that the economic impact of this, where they lost the food in their freezer or their refrigerator, as well as the families that are just in need, period.
At the peak of the winter storm, Philam Kenneth Colocado and his family struggled to stay warm and get clean water.
We try to boil water just to keep everything safe and clean for water usage.
When Kenneth's neighborhood lost power for days, his brother Kevin and his wife Charito took them in.
Fortunately, we're one of the few families that continue to have internet service, water, and electricity. And in true Filipino and Texan fashion, we have opened up our arms and our hospitality to all of our friends and family in need.
Hosting a lot of people in their home, Charito said they stocked up on food as supplies began running out in stores all over the state. Meanwhile, despite fewer COVID-19 hospitalizations across Texas, health officials now worry that cases would once again surge after families had to gather with each other and in shelters to survive the bitter cold. Texas expects to ramp up its vaccination efforts this week, with 1.5 million doses arriving, including last week's undelivered supplies.
Will be followed The Health Technology Assessment Council of the Health Department and the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group both agree that China-based manufacturer Sinovac's vaccine can be given to healthcare workers, even those directly caring for patients with COVID-19. Earlier, the Food and Drug Administration said the vaccine may not be suitable for healthcare workers exposed to COVID-19 after a study in Brazil yielded only a 50.4% efficacy. But the DOH says the two recommendations are not contradictory.
Clinical trial data still shows that the vaccine is 50% effective in preventing mild symptoms and 100% effective against moderate to severe symptoms. Given this evidence, the NITAG and the TAG has deemed it sufficient to recommend the use of the vaccine for healthcare workers, as it bears to reiterate that our goal for prioritizing healthcare workers for vaccination is to reduce morbidity and mortality among their group while they maintain the most critical essential health services.
Vergara says that being a healthcare worker is not a contraindication, and the statement was never a question of safety, but rather a question of rational use of the limited resources. But it will still be up to the healthcare workers to decide if they want to receive Sinovac's jabs or wait for another vaccine. Experts say health workers should serve as good examples to the public.
We always look up to our healthcare workers for good examples of how to take better care of ourselves. So if our healthcare workers are reluctant to accept vaccination, then that also sends a signal to the general public.
The DOH and NITAG clarify health workers will remain in the priority list regardless of the vaccine brand they choose. The question on a lot of people's minds is, which is the best vaccine? For epidemiologist Dr. John Wong, this should be answered in the context that the Philippines is currently in.
The best vaccine is the vaccine that you can get. No? So this is the vaccine that we have now, and it's the best vaccine for our health workers now.
Based on the data, this vaccine looks like it will save lives. And so I think that it is but right that we offer it to the people who have been on the front lines, who have been saving lives. And if they feel this is not the right vaccine for them, then we are not going to penalize them.
On Friday, some health workers at the Philippine General Hospital, together with students, held a picket. They call on government to provide a vaccine with high efficacy. Most PGH workers have expressed willingness to get inoculated if Pfizer vaccine will be used. Karen Mayforillo, president of the All-UP Workers Union in Manila, told ANC this may change.
Yung sentiment, biglang nagbago siya kahapon. Nagdalawang isip na po. Yung 94% na maaring nagrehisto ng kanilang pagpayo doon sa vaccination dito sa PGH. Pag nagtanong tayo sa mga areas, meron na po pag-aalinlangan, pagdadalawang isip kung magpapaturok pang March 1. Sa tingin po namin, unfair yun na ipasa sa healthcare workers. It's burden pagpapatunay na ang isang bakuna ay katanggap-tanggap o hindi.
The DOH is set to conduct town hall meetings with health workers to provide more information and explain the data yielded from studies on Sinovac's vaccine.
ViaTimes, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino Asian communities in Chicago. ViaTimes for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. ViaTime has very interesting columnists. You name it, ViaTimes has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call ViaTimes at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show today. I have a very special lady, a very familiar face. And she's back here with us again to make a very important announcement to our community. And her name is Honorable Maria Pappas, Cook County Treasurer. No need further introduction because everybody knows Maria Pappas in our community. Welcome to our show, Maria.
So nice to see you, Veronica, even if it's on television. I want to see you and hug you and kiss you.
Yeah, one of these days when everybody is free from the lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me give you some good news. You
Good
can get to cookcountytreasure.com and pay your taxes, but even though you got a bill saying that they're due March 1st, you can pay without penalty May 1st. You can pay without penalty going into May. So you've got 2 extra months because of this COVID situation. Additionally, if you get to cookcountytreasure.com and you put in your address, we've had 1 million people come a month to that site. You can see if you're one of the people, if you owned the property at the time, going back 20 years, if you're owed $79 million in double payments, or if you're entitled to a homeowner's exemption, a senior exemption, and a senior freeze exemption. And in that, you can go back 4 years, and there's another $48 million there. So I want to thank you for all your support. You don't have to pay on March 1st. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon, because we're doing some work on translations of our new brochures. And when we do, I'm going to come back on and make a big announcement about that.
That's the greatest news. Wow. And
You can translate our website into Tagalog. Our website is translatable into your language.
Into our language.
Yes. Yeah, right now. You can go to cookcountytreasure.com, go to the bottom, and you can Google translate the whole thing into Tagalog. It's just very complicated to understand property taxes. So we're giving it to you in your language. And soon we're going to have this brochure that explains the whole office in the language as well.
Okay, we'll be showing a clip of that brochure, and that is really the greatest news so far this week that we've heard. And for the many property owners out there, what more do you want? from
Good news. We need some good news. And I wear my shiny jackets. I could be happy.
You always look good. I see your posts on Facebook, and you're amazing. How you could look the same through all these years. What's your secret?
All right. God bless you, Veronica. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give my best to Elsie and the rest of your staff. Huh?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for gracing our show today, Maria.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Objective Leaders portion of the show. And I'm Joe Mauricio. This afternoon, I have one very beautiful guest, and you probably can guess who this guy is. Well, she is Melody Dizon, your regular Health Matters host for the show. Welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you so much to Tito Joe. I'd love to be I miss going to your video, going to our taping. I miss everybody. Hi, folks. How are you?
The TV viewers miss you a lot for 2 weeks. What happened within the 2 weeks? Can you tell us what happened?
Well, I hibernated. Why did I hibernate? Well, as people already know, for some of you who didn't know, I had contracted the COVID-19 virus, and that was the first week of January. If you ask me where I got that from, I couldn't tell you, because almost everything now is inevitable. I go see patients, I go to the clinics, I go out, I come in, I see other people. So my variables are so wide out there that it's easier for me to say, oh, I may have catched it here, got it there. So, but I got it, bottom line.
Yeah, that's hard to pinpoint where you got it, and you cannot accuse anybody. As a career, there's a lot of, as a victim of COVID-19, you have immune. I mean, you have immunity to all these things that going on. Maybe even the flu. Is that a flu or what? We don't hear anything about the flu anymore. It's all COVID-19.
Well, there's many reasons for that, Tito Joe. Number one, not for anything, but I guess when a patient is diagnosed with COVID-19, all out-of-pocket cost gets dropped and insurance covers the whole 100%. And maybe they get a little bit of a funding for that. But I don't know really, for each patient situation. But yeah, there are still some flu, but very, very few that I'm hearing, mostly COVID.
Before COVID-19, the CDC has statistics on the yearly death from flu virus. 22,000 people died. While all of a sudden now, with this COVID-19, no one dies of flu, but everybody dies of COVID-19. Like, why is that?
I know. No, there's still the flu. I do have some patients that get hospitalized. They're negative with COVID, but they have all the flu-like symptoms. But you don't see it as flu. You don't see it as the diagnosed as flu. They say something else like pneumonia, bronchitis, asthma exacerbation, heart failure, blah blah blah. That can mimic a lot with the COVID-19 virus.
Yeah, as a survivor, what can you advise our viewers? What can they do to prevent from? Well, it's pretty hard to.
Yeah.
There's too much unknown going on with this thing.
Right. Well, number one, it is real, you guys. It is so real. I know there are still a few that thinks it isn't, but it is real. Okay. It's not like the regular flu at all. It can vary from person to person, but with me, it was different. I don't have any pre-existing conditions, although I do have a little bit of hypertension, but I'm okay with that. Nothing asthma or anything for that matter. But for me, how I got mine is through pneumonia. I mean, coughing and colds and all that stuff, that it was relentless. It won't stop. I lost my taste. I lost my sense of smell. I was very tired, and I couldn't walk far without having to catch my breath. I couldn't even talk without having to catch my breath. That was scary.
Yeah, really. In a Dizon family where you guys are, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 is afraid to a guy named Dizon.
Yeah, I did touch him.
He has a repellent, like a repellent to COVID-19,
I know.
COVID-19 is afraid to contaminate him. I don't know why.
Exactly. I said hello.
But how's he doing anyway?
Oh, he's fine. He only had muscle. It's so unfair. He only had muscle aches and then maybe chills just one day. That's all. And he said, "Oh, this is weird." And I go, "Why?" "I don't know. I just feel something weird." He goes, "I'm going to have myself checked." So that's when he went maybe 2 days after his symptoms started, which is just muscle aches, nothing really. So then when he showed positive, then all my kids had themselves tested. And then me was a few days later. And so, yeah, everybody got it in the house.
Everybody? And what are the symptoms that distinguish COVID-19 from a flu?
You know what they say? It's that loss of sense and of smell and loss of sense of taste. Because I think they said the virus kind of attacks the nerve that's responsible for that. And they probably stay there and it's inflamed, it's swollen. So that is a very classic sign, symptom, and for that kind of the virus is the loss of taste and smell. Fatigue, sometimes you get it with the regular flu. You may have fever, yes or no. Almost everything is the same. The only difference is that loss of sense of taste and smell. And then the cough. The cough is dry and it just incessant. It doesn't stop. It just continues on. And that was hard for me. That's how, from all my reads and from I'm asking the patients, that's a very common difference between the two.
Oh, well, the kids are all okay though.
Oh yeah, they're fine. The same with him. They're all repellent.
They have the Dizon gene in there. The Dizon DNA is a repellent to COVID-19. Remember that? Yeah, that's as a victim of this COVID-19, the vaccine was here in a warp speed, and
in the medical profession to develop a vaccine, it takes a while. You cannot rush science. You cannot just, we will have a vaccine. They have a concept, which I agree with the concept, but so what can you tell about the vaccine?
About the warp speed of the vaccine. Well, number one, yes, it is true. You cannot buy time, right? A time is time for everybody. We all have 24 hours. But at the same time, too, there are a lot more technology that we have right now in use that can hasten the process, that can make things a little bit faster and quicker. So they have a disclaimer, they say it's 97, 96%. Yes, you can say that, but people still get it from what, no, though I haven't, okay, no, I know one doctor who received the vaccine a week ago and then contracted the virus few days later. So it's because the immunization didn't really take in full effect yet. She did have partial maybe immunity, but she was positive after the vaccine a week later. But her symptoms are very mild. So,
Melody, do you consider yourself safe with other people without masks around you?
No, I freak out. Even though I said, oh my God, finally, not that I'm happy that I had COVID, but it's like I'm letting my walls down because I have immunity to some degree, but not really. Nothing is going to cover. We don't know anything about the virus. I still cover myself. Everything, the shield, the mask, everything else is, observe all the necessary precautions that I have to. It may sound like, that's why I kind of feel like maybe by summer, hopefully it's not going to be so bad. People will be immunized and, we have lesser infection rate. But yeah, even so, if you've had it, I'd still be leery because we don't know if it mutates again or what have you. No clue.
You had your vaccine injection already, right?
No, because I cannot have, here's the thing, two things. When a person has COVID-19, I have to wait 90 days for the vaccine to be given to me. My infectious disease told me, the pulmonologist told me, as well as my primary. But I've asked doctors around and I've read from the literatures that I've read, it did say actually, it did not say I couldn't have it. The only reason why they're saying to wait 90 days, because it's scarcity. People who haven't had the COVID versus me who had the COVID, I have already some kind of immunity versus all the others who hadn't had any. So let's give it to them first, and then you get your turn when the next batch comes in. The only time I guess you cannot get the vaccine is if you had COVID and you had the monoclonal antibody plasma infusion, which I didn't have. So if you have that antibody infusion, monoclonal, then they say to wait 90 days. But still, I'm being told that I have to wait 90 days.
Okay, now, when you get a vaccine, how long does it last? How long the immunity really lasts? Do you know?
That is a very good question because right now everything is all based on the current information they have. From the last read that I did last night, they said with Pfizer, it may show that you will have immunity up to 1 year, even with just one vaccine. Now, that's just what they're seeing now, the trend, okay? But who really knows? Who knows? They say it may be just like the flu, that you'll have the shot immunization every year. Mm-hmm. They say you're not allowed to go to work if you didn't have a vaccine, or you can't go to, not yet on the school part, but there are some places, but they can't force nobody. They can't say, well, you got to have this. Well, but then maybe later on, I don't know how it's going to be going forward.
Are you getting a flu shot also with this?
I already had the flu shot in October. I always get it before that.
Well, is it a flu shot also one of those corona things?
Before, yes, it may be corona being it anew, but because, every flu shot is different every season. Because based from all their gathering of data, do you know that we have a different flu vaccine from California versus Chicago? Because they do have, we have different flu that flows around that comes through. So like the last time, when was that? When you got really sick, Tito Joe? I think that was 2018 or 17.
18.
18, right. The success rate for the flu then was only 30%. So could you imagine? Only 30% it was effective. So that's why you got it. You know what I mean? 70% it didn't. So a lot of people got really infected by it.
The Pfizer or Moderna, how long, I mean, is the immunity last that long? Or you got to have the second shot?
Well, right now I know that people maybe just to, again, their data is very limited. So what they are suggesting is that people get the second vaccine. I have heard though, and from people, okay, this is word of mouth that goes around, that the people that had gotten the second vaccine really got them sick. 2 days, just 2 days, really, really tired, either fever, muscle aches, all that kind of mimics the COVID, but then after the third day, they're okay. So other people have opted not to take the second vaccine because they said they'll just kind of see how others react. You know, if others are still alive, I'll take it. If not, well, okay, now I.
One of that.
Yeah.
You know, there are too many unknowns.
Yes.
Too many unknowns about coronavirus, the COVID-19. Too many unknowns about the vaccine. You know, and it's not live. You know, you know that the mRNA is nothing but 2 protein.
Correct.
And when they put that into your body, they are hoping that your body, yourself, produces antibodies to fight the incoming infection, right?
Right.
With this vaccine, you know, they predict that they will induce immune system, you know. But again, they predict, you know, they're not 100% sure that it's going to, you know, I'm waiting for 6 more months and see what happened. You know, science, you cannot run science, and you know.
No. Yeah.
You know,
there's a lot of factors with that, Tito Joe. You know, pharmaceutical industries, you know how such a big, there's politics around it. There's so much. So, you know, people, I attended this survey that will you be more likely to receive the vaccine if the people from the community, like your doctors and all that, are telling you, or would you listen more to the politician? I said, wait a minute. You know what I mean? So it really has an effect. You know, it's sad to say, but it is true. It is true.
You know what I'm afraid of. This is what's the trend is going on in the pharma or research in industries. You know, we don't want to use the animals as a guinea pig. Now what they're using is people as the guinea pig. I am not going to let that thing happen to my body. I only have one life to give. And my God, I'm just going to protect that as long as I wanted to. You know, I only have one life to give to my country. And my God, just because my friends are having these shots and things like that, I got to think. I have some background on what's going on, and I'm not going to tell you what that is. So, but, you know, I'm going to wait 6 months. You cannot rush science. You cannot. I used to do some research, and you cannot rush that. It has to be not the human guinea pig, but animals.
Yeah, something else. Yeah.
Else you would like to say?
Well, you know, as what Tito Joe said, he's very aware of his body. He knows the existing conditions that he has. He knows what he'll feel or what he thinks if he'll expose himself to the vaccine. So, folks, I think the only thing I could tell you is, number one, you want to examine yourself. Is this really where I want to do? This what I want to have? Are you ready for the whatever side effect they may have? And then number two, if it puts everybody at risk, like for me, I'm working, always out. I'm more thinking of the people I may give it to. So that's why I am more leaning towards getting the vaccine, because there's so many sick people I'm in front with. But if you're sick enough or sick already as it is, or you have all other comorbidities that you have, You may be lenient with that, and there's nothing bad about it. I mean, really, again, we want science, true science. We want what's proven already, statistics, and we can't go saying later on, oh my God, I shouldn't have, or I should have listened to myself. So that's why I said it is your decision. It is your decision. You know your health. Yes, you can ask your doctor, but everybody's going to tell you you got to have it. But
As different doctors, they got different opinions. Who do I really listen to? I listen to my body. Okay.
That's right.
And that's what I do. I just reinforce my immune system with the things that I like to do.
Correct. That's right. Your zinc, vitamin C, ascorbic acid, those things. Vitamin D3 is very important to have, a lot of fluids and stuff.
Yeah, zinc, a lot of fluid. Yes. Yes. And rest. And rest.
Yeah,
No,
rest.
no more partying for me.
I know. It's so sad, right? I miss everybody. I really do. Oh my God.
Yeah, we are missing a lot of friends, but just like what somebody else says, that's their life. That's your opinion. That's my opinion.
That's right.
I respect that opinion.
That's right. That's all we could do.
Yes. So anything else you would like to say?
So folks, still keep everything, all the 3 W's they said. Number 1, wash your hands, wear your mask, and watch your distance. All 3 W's. You have to use all of those wherever you are, no matter who you're with. Like a family member visits or whatever, you still don't know where they've been. But if this is the family member that you live with day in, day out, it's all right. You know what I mean? But for other people to come to you still, we're not yet out of the zone. We're still in the woods, believe it or not.
Yes, yes. And it's not about the survival rates of a COVID positive thing is 97%.
I know they haven't shown that. I don't know where they get.
CDC, I just read that thing.
I know, but I don't know how they got the percentage. You know what I mean? Like, so who did they check? So were there people? I don't know. I really don't know. It's hard if I don't really see the numbers out there. But one thing though is for sure, our numbers have declined. We're now like in the thousands that have contracted, and maybe 40s, 50s that have died. I'm not saying it's good, but it's better than what it was.
That's good. That's good to hear, and I hope it continues to decrease.
Yeah.
So again, hey, it's nice talking to you, Melody. I'm glad that you're okay, your family's okay, and I hope everybody in America the world will be okay.
That's right.
Again, this is Joe Mauricio. Thank you for listening and watching Melody Dizon. A good insight for combating COVID-19. Ako po si Joe Mauricio, and I hope to see you again next week. And mabuhay ang Pilipinas!
Most people from a developing country grab the opportunity and the chance, and they do their best as they can to move to United States of America. Our guest did the reverse. She was born and raised in America and moved to the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest this week is an international speaker, a CEO and the founding director of Global Impact, a justice advocate, a minister, and also an empowerment coach. We are so proud to have our special guest for our Valentine episode, Amy Moranco Gehan. So being the CEO and the founding director of Global Impact, which is a nonprofit organization, and I understand that you have office here in the United States, you have an office in the Philippines, and you have an orphanage in Ukraine, and you do outreach program in New Zealand. I consider that a great feat. Can you share with us what is Global Impact? When was it created, and what is the mission of the group?
Sure, thank you. I'm privileged to be able to share that with you. Okay, Global Impact, I founded it in 1997 in the US as a 501c3 nonprofit organization there. And then started just traveling more, doing like itinerant ministry in the beginning. And so over the years, we then established, as you just said, our Philippine base and operations, our Ukraine base and operations, and then we've worked in many different countries. So we have off and on projects in different countries. Normally I'd be going to New Zealand once a year. Usually there I speak in churches and conferences, but of course with COVID, I haven't traveled at all. I've been in the Philippines for over the last year, which is great though, because we're doing a lot more media. So we're reaching the world through media. But our mission statement for Global is to release freedom and empower potential. Release freedom, empower potential. So we do that in a variety of different ways. I feel like people have freedom on the inside of them, that God's made us his children, that he's made us actually enough, perfect, worthy, lovable, 100%, fantastic. It's just that we have a lot of beliefs, a framework of thinking, maybe things in the past that hold us back from actually manifesting the freedom that's already in us. So our programs, though, I love the word freedom because it's what I speak on, teach on, coach on, and do, right? So like if it's a teaching, we're focusing around that freedom. The flip side, let's say the topic of human trafficking, which is our advocacy here. Those are people, people are enslaved in some way. They're abused, they're exploited. And so we want to bring freedom in that capacity. So that freedom is like the underlying foundation of all that we do, whether it's teaching and preaching or it's practical application. Freedom, we always want to be bringing freedom and then putting tools into people's lives to empower their potential. So we do a lot of relief work, we do a lot of giving to people, but we also want to go the next step where they take personal responsibility and develop themselves. So that's the scope of what we do, the heart behind it. And from that, we have a lot of different practical outreaches and programs that we're doing in the Philippines. And as you mentioned, in the Ukraine, we have a children's home, an orphanage. We have about 40 children there. We just celebrated our 9th-year anniversary, and I love that. And I also work with a group of churches there and do leadership training and speaking there as well. Yeah. So that's a bit of what.
Yeah, you are pretty brave and courageous and quite busy. So you mentioned when I introduced you, you mentioned that you are a civil engineering graduate, and then you took 2 years for ministerial studies. Can you give us more details about that? What prompted you to do ministerial studies? Is it in the family, or is it calling, or?
Yeah, what happened to me was, since being a little girl, I've always, I gave my life to the Lord when I was young, and I had just a real, a vibrant, real relationship with him, which is what I believe for, everybody, we can have that. It's a heart relationship. It's not about religion, it's about a heart relationship with him. And thankfully, I had that since I was a child, and a real, that connection with the Lord, and always seeking him and his direction for my life. So I very much felt, like led to go get my civil engineering degree. But what happened was when I was going into my senior year, I went to a conference that was actually up in Minneapolis, and there was one of my favorite preachers at that time had the conference, and he announced that he was starting a Bible school in 1 year from that time, and everything on the inside of me just came alive, stirred, like it was like, I knew that I was meant to do that. It was here. It wasn't just something in my head. It wasn't just a nice idea.
Correct.
It was like, go do that. And I thankfully at that time too, I had the support of my parents. Thank you, parents, for supporting me too, because they had helped me get my engineering degree,
Yeah.
And a lot of time and money you put into a degree, and then kind of shift focus and go to ministry school. But actually they were more than happy for that. They really supported me. I'm thankful for that. So it was a calling, and I didn't understand everything at that time. I didn't know what really God was calling me to, but I took that next step. And as I went out to California and did this 2-year Bible school and ministry school, then, things just unfolded. And I knew that this was me, that this is what God had called me to. And the first time that I went overseas, I went on my very first missions trip to Czechoslovakia. It was Czechoslovakia at that time. And when I did that, again, something came alive in me that I'd never felt before, that time. And I just knew that God called me to the nations.
We would like to welcome all of you to Baladna Jewelry. We have a very big selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po!
Good afternoon. This is Brigitte, Carino, Cueter, bringing you this week's local news from our community. The Cook County Circuit Court will resume jury trials, with multiple precautions taken to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, starting in late March, Chief Judge Timothy C. Evans said on Wednesday. The right to a trial by jury is a cornerstone of our democracy, and jury service is one of the most important things that you could do as a citizen. Evans said in letters to prospective jurors, which are arriving along with jury summonses in mailboxes this week. The court suspended jury trials in March 2020 due to the pandemic. The target dates for the first criminal jury trials of 2021 are March 22nd at the George and Leighton Criminal Courthouse on 26th Street and March 29th at the Bridgeview Courthouse. The 35th anniversary of the EDSA, Epifanio de los Santos Avenue People Power uprising that toppled the fascist dictator Ferdinand Marcos after nearly 21 years in presidential office, and which ended a brutal reign of martial law that gripped the Philippines for 14 years and left thousands missing, imprisoned, tortured, and killed, was commemorated last February 25, 2021 via Zoom and hosted by Malaya Movement Baltimore, Bayan DMV, Anakbayan DC, Katarungan, and Maryland CHRP, Committee on Human Rights in the Philippines. Concerned citizens from neighborhoods serviced by Tower Ladder 34, a specialized life-saving apparatus housed at Engine Company 72 in the city's South Shore neighborhood, are banding together to extinguish a burning issue inside the Chicago Fire Department. On February 25th, they held a rally and press conference across the street from Fire Station, located at 7982 South Chicago Avenue, because they do not want the tower ladder that has saved many lives and properties over the past 30 years moved from its current location. Public safety, they say, is at stake in the city's busiest firehouse, which covers hundreds of thousands of residents in approximately 6 wards. Tower Ladder 34, which went into service in 1987, is more than a regular fire truck. Attorney General Kwame Raoul, as part of a coalition of 30 attorneys general, urged the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, to fund internet connectivity and internet-enabled devices for K-12 students whose schools are closed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and who are learning online at home or other locations. The FCC sought comments on petitions filed by a coalition of stakeholders urging the Commission to temporarily waive certain restrictions on its E-rate program to allow schools to extend their broadband internet networks to students' homes. The petitions also urge the FCC to allow E-rate funds to be used to provide Wi-Fi hotspots or other broadband connections for students who lack adequate internet connectivity to participate in remote learning. The world's most Instagrammed art museums revealed. The Parisian Monument and Art Museum, the Louvre Museum, is the most Instagrammed at 4 million hashtags. The second most Instagrammed art museum is the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Tate Modern, LA County Museum of Art, and State Hermitage Museum are also among the top 5. The USA is home to the most Instagrammable art museums in the top 20, followed by the UK. Although travel has been restricted, millions of art lovers still flock to Instagram every day to share their favorite memories of museums from around the world. And with many museums offering virtual tours, the desire for iconic galleries to open their doors has not slowed down. Interested in this, cartridgesave.co.uk looked at popular art museums across the globe and analyzed the number of Instagram posts associated with each museum. They then ranked the results to uncover which art museum is the most Instagrammed. Volunteers with Red Cross Disaster Action Team responded to 40 home fires in Chicago, Cicero, Evanston, Fox Lake, Harvey, Lake Villa, Waukegan, and more, with 23 of these incidents occurring in Chicago. Sadly, one of these home fires resulted in a loss of a life. In the last week, volunteers with the American Red Cross provided a temporary place to stay to 84 individuals, including 69 adults and 15 children. In addition, our volunteers provided health services, disaster mental health, financial services, and information about recovery planning to those impacted. Tiger Woods, 45, was involved in a single-car accident on Tuesday morning after he hit the median, crossed multiple lanes of traffic before hitting the curb, a tree, and ultimately flipping the vehicle multiple times. According to County Sheriff Alex Villanueva, fire authorities had to extricate Woods from the vehicle. He was wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash, according to Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, who was the first on scene. No evidence of impairment at this point in time, Villanueva said during a Tuesday evening press conference. The first contact was with the center median, and from there, then crossed into the opposing lane of traffic, hit the curb, hit a tree, and there were several rollovers during that process. That's all the news for today. Thank you for watching the news this week. This is Brigitte. See you next time.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. And today, it's a beautiful day, Saturday, and in the 50s. Wow. I can't wait to be out again and be up and about and do something, anything that we haven't done in the past, which is being normal, not to wear a mask and all that. But obviously, we cannot do that yet because we are still in the midst of pandemic. So what we're going to be talking today is that, as you all know, Pfizer and Moderna are two vaccines, and now it looks like we're going to have another one, the third one. So the third vaccine is poised to join the fight against COVID-19 with 3.9 million doses expected to be available right away. Wow. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, that's the third one, will become the third authorized vaccine for use in the United States. So it will be the first one-shot vaccine, and one that can be stored in regular refrigerators, making it easier to distribute than the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines, which are more delicate and require 2 doses. And that means we can get more doses into people's arms, and we can try to get this terrible pandemic behind us. So the new vaccine is a valuable weapon against COVID-19, and official says the rollout will be quick. That's very important. So the amount could increase vaccinations for states by 25% and would be delivered in as little as 1 to 2 days in the first week. So vaccine administration already has been increasing, with 2.2 million more vaccinations reported Friday than the day before, which was yesterday, and about 70.5 million doses given in total, according to CDC. But with variants spreading and threatening to send new cases rates skyrocketing high once more, officials hope to get ahead of the spread with faster inoculations. So the new virus cases have begun to plateau. Yep, after a steady decline. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky warned that it could be the beginning effects of more transmissible variants having an impact. So Johnson and Johnson's the third provider of that vaccine. So some misconceptions arise that Johnson and Johnson vaccine is second class. Johnson's vaccines may appear to have a lower efficacy rate than its earlier counterparts, but that doesn't make it a worse option because it appears to protect against some variants. So it clearly gets away over the bar, and nice to have a single dose vaccine. The people that I've seen this week, maybe 3 people have already approached me and said they're willing to wait for the Johnson and Johnson's vaccine, just the one shot. It's difficult to make actually comparison from apples to apples between vaccines authorized. It is, however, based on data collected before new variants are believed to have been in widespread circulation. So one dose will keep you out of the hospital for sure, keep you out of the intensive care unit for sure, and keep you out of the morgue. Yes, we don't want to be in the morgue. Several public officials, experts told Congress on Friday that people who have had Johnson & Johnson vaccine made available to them should get it. You don't feel like you need to wait, and they're all terrific vaccines for the things that we care about, such as life. So now is also not the time to change doses. So promising news also comes out for the Pfizer biotech vaccine because just one dose can induce a strong immune response in people who have already had COVID-19, and that could protect them from future infection. The vaccine is currently administered as 2 doses, 21 days apart. The first dose primes the immune system, and the second one boosts it. So some officials have suggested prioritizing the administration of first doses to increase the immune response in as many people as possible quickly. But with emerging variants, now is not the time to change the 2-dose schedule of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. The vaccines have been studied and approved, authorized, recommended as a 2-dose schedule. So their programs are built on that, so we don't want to change things in the middle of the game. You know, they have communicated that to the public, they said, and they just don't think that there's enough science yet to tell them that to change the doses would be an effective regimen. So let's stick to what we know at this time, which is if you've had Pfizer and Moderna, to have those 2 vaccines. So FDA has already authorized Johnson & Johnson's coronavirus vaccine. So although the Johnson & Johnson vaccine does not appear to have the astonishing 94 to 95% efficacy of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, researchers told the committee that it was tested at a different time, when more virus was circulating after new variants had arisen, and that have the ability to evade some of the immune response. In the U.S. alone, they said the efficacy rate was only 72%, and it was 85% effective in preventing severe diseases. So no one who got the vaccine has died yet of COVID-19 during the trial. So FDA analysis finds that J&J COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective, and the vaccine is different from Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, which are made using a new technology that employs genetic material called the messenger RNA or the mRNA. Janssen's vaccine uses a common cold virus and has been genetically engineered so that it can replicate in the body. Instead, it infects a few cells in the arm when injected, carrying the genetic code for a small part of the virus. So those cells then can produce material that looks like pieces of the virus to the immune system, stimulating an immunoresponse. It's an older vaccine technology that the military has used for many, many years. So the U.S. federal government says it's ready to distribute 4 million doses of the vaccine immediately. Dr. Anthony Fauci, as we know him to be the chief medical advisor to the White House and director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, has said that Americans should not try to pick and choose vaccines, but rather get whichever vaccine is available. That's right, guys. Take what you can get. So at this point in the pandemic, however, Americans don't have the luxury of choice. When it comes to COVID-19 vaccines, experts say to take what's offered you. If people are offered the vaccine by Johnson & Johnson, they shouldn't say, oh, I don't want it. We are not in a scenario where we can pick and choose vaccines again. So getting the vaccine now, as soon as possible, helps you. And it protects you and gives you some level of immunity. And it also helps us to come to an end to this pandemic sooner. So yan po, I hope you have taken some tips from me. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maria Pappas, Cook County Treasurer. Property taxes are due March 2nd, but there's no late fee through May 3rd. Go to cookcountytreasurer.com, put in your street address to pay online, search for $76 million in double payments and $46 million in missing exemptions. See if your property is on the tax sale delinquency list. Put in your address at cookcountytreasurer.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the most awaited portion of the show, the happy birthday to the following people: Eloy Regala, Papa Pilferdic, Nilo Villacorte, Josie Reyes, Lynn Agpasa Viola, Malu Sigala Toller, Meryl Hazel Garcia, and our columnist celebrating the birthday today, Vic Perez. Happy birthday, Vic. And also, happy anniversary to the lovely couple, Mar and Baby Salas. Hi, baby. Hi, Mar. Congratulations. And don't forget to pick up the copy of your favorite ViaTimes magazine February issue at your favorite stores. Again, this is Joe Mauricio wishing everybody a good month of February. Adios and mabuhay ang Pilipinas.